What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals. Man, I'm always joined, and I'm always blessed to be joined by some great people, man. And this is kind of like spur of the moment type of thing. I reached out to, my homegirl right next to me early yesterday morning, I think it was, and she was willing to come on yesterday, but I thought it was very last minute. So I was like, I got to be prepared when I get a guest like this. You know what I mean? So I felt like, let me come on and let me go ahead and gather my thoughts and everything together. I said, let's do this tomorrow. And she was like, yo, I'm down with this too. I mean, we got a lot going on in this baseball world, especially with the draft and the youth baseball space, that I had to feel like I couldn't just do the talking. I had to bring on somebody that's been there, is going through the process many times over, knows the behind the scenes, still well connected, obviously being an agent, and knows the story behind the story. But I am joined by super agent Lonnie Murray. Lonnie, what's good? What's going on, girl?
Not much. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Man. It's yes, it's always blessed to have you on. Second time, repeat again. You turned the house down last time you was on, man. We was just chopping it up, and I'm
trash talking
right to it. Speak that real ish. You know what I'm saying? That's why I gotta get this. I gotta get her back on to speak about this whole thing. But anyway, Lonnie, man, just kind of talk about what you've been up to. I mean, you had a big month last month, I know, with draft, some of your guys that have gotten drafted. And so what's been going on in Lonnie Murray's life right now?
I'll try to choose my words wisely, only for the sake of the potential of children being present. Last month, let's just hope that Major League Baseball does the lineup a little bit differently next year than they did this year, with the changes, moving the draft right into the middle of All-Star break and trade deadline. So you have these happy moments where guys are getting ready to be drafted, and if you've been honest with your guys, everyone's pretty much prepared for what's getting ready to happen. Very rarely do I have if ever, have negative upsets. I'm pretty transparent and I under promise, over deliver. So that's usually a happy time, but you can't really blast out the great stuff when you also know that during that same time, because of trade deadline and the draft, guys are going to get cut. And so it's like, the bubble guys, you're trying to prepare them, and with less teams, 40 less teams than a year prior, that's a painful time too. So it was a very bipolar July.
I mean, let's talk. I mean, we're going to go about draft. We're going to talk about some good and bad times when it comes to the draft process. But overall, the draft process for any young athlete and family is a happy time. We're going to get into the Kumar thing. But I want to harp on what you just talked about because, I ain't going to say, it's the realness. I love what you just said. For the happy times that's going on for some of these kids that's getting drafted, what it means that, for the parents listening, so every time somebody gets drafted, somebody got to go that's already employed by that team. Yep. And so can you talk about the wave of emotions a little deeper? Because that's just great what you said, because, sometimes we just talking draft and why he's turning down there and what's going on. But essentially, there is a dream that's going to be ended potentially with somebody signing and getting drafted. Can you talk a little bit about the emotions that goes along with, fighting for your players and having to tell, him giving you that call, Lonnie, yeah. They gave me that call today, or they tapped me on my shoulder today. Can you talk about that emotion?
Frankly, for me, it can be when it actually happens. So I'll start at the end. When it actually happens, again, I'm rarely surprised because you pretty much know who's going to be targeted. Sometimes surprises do happen, but I think that even if there's a guy who, like maybe last year, was hitting 256 and gets released, you pretty much have an indication. And so while the family, and you try to have these conversations with there's like two ways. Okay. So you have some families, because I always, even though they're grown men, I still communicate with the families so that they understand what he's getting ready to go through. Or if I can't seem to tap in and get through to him, because he's not picking it up, or he's being overconfident about his performance, in trying to explain the business aspect of it and how you can see this wave that's getting ready to come, and they're just too busy surfing and getting excited, and having fun. And so when that hammer drops, there's first from them typically anger. There is rarely understanding from the beginning. And that's the most upsetting part, for me, not at them, but more personally, because, and I've gotten in trouble with this before. So I always try to use each situation as an opportunity to be better. And so no matter how much explaining I've done or how much I've tried to prepare somebody for the potential outcomes, I'm still sorry when it happens. And so I've had two situations in my 18 years where somebody has said, well, see, you're sorry, so it must have been your fault. I was totally empathetic, but, and so here we are in this stage again, because I'm not so much surprised. It also allows me an opportunity to prepare. And so for me, at the same time that on a personal level, I'm deeply impacted by it, I cannot show my player or the family that, because then I've succumbed to the emotion versus started work on the process of moving forward. What are the next steps? What are the possibilities? What are the hopeful outcomes? This year, I had one guy get released. It just happened 2 nights ago. I totally saw it coming. And this was, this might be the first time that I have truly experienced a player who was a really good college player.
Okay.
But it did not connect at all on the pro side. It immediately went from, a 300 plus hitter at a D1 good region college to 113 on the pro side. And they did give him so much opportunity, but the kid couldn't hear that. All he could hear is, oh, well, now they're not playing me every day. Oh, well, now they're not doing this, or they are doing this to me, or they're doing that to me. And it's like, no, bruh, you're doing this to yourself. And so you start out nurturing, but then it comes time where I went to this dad because he's a strong dad, where, hey, do I have permission to choke the shit out of your child? Because he's not getting So I need you to be prepared that he's about to be real upset with me, but it's time we go there, because nothing else is getting through. I've had now the farm director call and sit down with him. Like I've done the coddling, I've done the nurturing, I've done the get former big leaguers on the phone. I've done it all. And still, and what was interesting is that on his flight home yesterday, he acknowledged that in college and in high school, that always in his life, he felt like he was one of the best players on the field. And the moment he got to pro ball, it was one of those, oh shit moments where, and you know what kind of guys I'm talking about, because you usually see it a lot with pitchers, right? When they first get there, especially at the big league level, and they're facing that dude that they used to think was a dude, and all of a sudden you lost. You ain't even thrown a pitch yet, and you walked him, right? And that, for some reason, he was never able to pull himself out of that. And so he had a year and a half, and trade deadline and draft occur. And I mean, he made it all the way to the end of the month. And I was like, yes. And then I was like, oh crap. And it happened like at 11 o'clock at night. So how do I feel? You wake up the next day, you're tired, you're emotional, on a personal side, but you're still like, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to make this happen for him if his heart is still in it. But did he learn from it? And that's what we'll see in the next couple of days as he decompresses from home, because I told him you get 1 day. And that's the other thing that I look for too, because you don't want to work harder for somebody than they're willing to work for themselves. And I learned that the hard way. And so I said, you got 1 day to wallow in your defeat. But then after that, which means today, you need to hit the cage and I want to see your videos. You need to call, I won't say his name, you need to call this person. There was a hitting guy close to home that he used to hit with all the time. Get back to your foundation, tap in. And so we'll see what happens today, because that will determine what happens next, unfortunately.
That's crazy what you said. You can't work harder for him than he can for himself, because you're right. It's hard, it's tough to. I've been there. You know what I'm saying? When you don't know if you're gonna play tomorrow, you don't know if you're gonna be playing ever again, and they done told you go home, and man, it's tough, and you got to pick yourself up and get back to work, like you said, man, and it's part of the process. But it's
Let me clarify.
It's funny
let me clarify too, because let me clarify, because some people like to take your words out of context. When I say you can't work harder for somebody than they work for themselves, I'm talking about that doesn't mean I don't carry somebody through hard times. But if over a long body of time, I continue to carry them over the finish line and they still ain't stepped up, we got a problem. When I'm constantly putting forth extra effort, when I'm the one awake until 1 o'clock in the morning, sending emails or talking you through only for the next day to find out that while I'm up at 7 getting to work, you still haven't hit the cages? Come on. When you have resources, because I tell them, call the scouts that were scouting you in college. If you just came out of high school, call the ones that were scouting you out of high school. Use those guys. Make all around. People like to see your passion. People like to see you grinding for
it. That's right. Listen, I can get in that whole subject with that right there, man, and from experience. And but I want to, I'm glad you explained that. Thank you, Lonnie. But let's for the parents that's listening in, because I think a lot of, we're going to go back to, you talked about this, but this may be the first time a parent may be hearing from an agent and understanding how this whole process goes. And just today, and there's no disrespect, because I think the mom's on it, but, I had to explain to a young man that how the whole draft process works, because he was, we were talking about college, but he thought, well, if it was up to me, coach, and he was dead serious, he just didn't know. He's like, I don't necessarily know if I want to go to college or in the minor leagues. If I had the choice between the minor leagues and major leagues, I want to go to, straight to the major leagues. And I said, well, listen, bro, everybody does. And I said, you'll be one of 10, maybe 10 to 15 people in this whole history of 200 years of playing baseball that you get drafted, go straight to the league. And I said, I doubt any high school kids have ever done that. And I was like, normally you get drafted and go through the minor league system and all of that. But just to let you know that, like the kind of conversations that, I have where a lot of people don't understand the draft process. Now, I want to kind of get through it from an agent point of view. How does it, I'm gonna go on and think that everybody knows how the minor leagues and the major leagues and stuff work. But I want to talk about an agent reaching out to them or them reaching out to an agent, because I hear it a lot of times, even still. Hey, I'm a 10th grader. Do I need an agent? I'm 11th grader. Do I need an agent? Why has no agents reached out to my son yet? He's so-and-so and he's this, he's that good. How does the whole process work as far as, agents reaching out, or should the parent or the player reach out to an agent?
Okay. So first question, should a parent reach out to an agent, or why hasn't an agent contacted you? Okay. So for me, I am very hands-on, and I only deal with a certain number of guys each year. The reason I have to limit the number of players I can carry through a draft process each year is because I am hands-on. I have people that work for me, but I don't trust nobody when it comes to somebody else's life that I was charged with. And so I like to know every detail, and this is absolutely something that I say. I don't care if you have a hangnail. I want to know about it. Like everything. I don't care if it is a new pain. I want to know about it. I don't care if you had an O for a day. I want to know about it, and I want to see the recorded at bats. And there's a reason for that, because every little thing leading through that, especially that junior summer, senior year of high school, matters. It absolutely matters. And as the agent, you have to understand what took place prior to the scouts sometimes writing it in their reports. Like I can call and say, well, like I had a kid a couple weeks ago that had to no-show for PG National, which is a huge no-no. But unfortunately, his brother literally went missing. And so, it was like, how do you use discretion as well as notify scouts? But some scouts won't hear about it, and they'll still write it up like he no-showed for PG National. He'll also miss PG All-American, but at least I have a good reason why. Does that make sense? In addition, sometimes you have kids that don't really, and this is a warning for parents. Some kids will literally tell a scout, oh, well, my pinky hurt, and so I thought it was best not to play. You know what I'm talking about. And it's like, you told them what? And so that's why I always say, like, I want to know, even if it's a hangnail, I want to know first. Even with my pro guys, I tell them, I want to know before you tell your trainer. Because if you tell me BS, I know your medical file is going to continue growing over some BS that I could have worked out without you notifying the team. Right? You know how that affects your trade value. So anyway, back to draft. So as to my point, I don't always get the opportunity to reach out to people. I may see a really good player, but some parents want to be sold. I'm not a salesperson, and that's not my philosophy. I know, and just like some other agents, I'm sure, where your value and what you bring to the table, and that the draft, and hear me when I say this, unless your child is going top 1 through 10, there's no money in it. That does not even pay for itself, really. If I'm helping you from the time that you're a freshman in high school, and yes, sometimes that does happen, and typically by referral, because as some of the people that are on here know, somebody reaches out to me for help, I don't hold back on that. Information is free. At least it should be. Now, some agents will absolutely hold information and opportunities hostage, where I feel kind of the opposite about it. It's like, hey, I'm going to show you my value and my worth through action versus words. And so you see an agent out there like myself, and you're interested, by all means, reach out and let's talk, but it has nothing to do with the value of your child. Now, the agents I would absolutely be weary of is you have, the bottom feeder type agencies that cast a really wide net. They've got, 10 guys out there, and, they're coming at you, but they're also going after every single one of his teammates. And you drag it in and you see what comes back, because the truth is, I could absolutely do that and get away with it. All I have to do is tell you everything that you want to hear. That's all I have to do. And you're going to feel good, and it's going to be easy for me. And then draft day is going to come, and you're going to be pissed off because I told you, or this person told you, that, gosh, you're a definite third rounder, right? And then draft day comes, and now the 10th has passed, and all of a sudden your kid is all pumped, and you're pumped. You guys have friends over. You were watching the draft. And now you're selected in the 11th. And guess what? It's like Christmas and there's no presents under the tree. What are you going to do? You're going to find a present. Okay, baby, go ahead and sign. Then you're writing a check to that agent because they told you everything that you wanted to hear, but you got screwed. You write the check for that 11-pound money. And then in 3 months, when you need a new glove or some bats, they will not respond.
Let's because you giving nuggets, but we gotta talk about this, okay? We gotta talk about this.
Yeah.
First of all, because a lot of people, a lot of kids, 11th round, they like, oh wow, I'm signing, and we're gonna talk about Uncle Sam paying the agent. What's a normal percentage that gets taken out for agent fees after Uncle Sam? Or before Uncle Sam?
Oh, it's before Uncle Sam, and it's 5%. Right. And during the Trump tax laws, they changed it to where you can no longer write off your agent fees.
Really?
Yes. So I think another point that you alluded to, and this came up in the Facebook group the other day, Black Boys Do Play Baseball, where it's 500,000 for people in certain regions means a whole lot more, or again, means a whole lot more in Kansas City than it does in California.
Yeah,
same with
I saw you post that. Yes.
Yeah. And so some people saying, hey, I would sign for that. That's $500,000. Well, $500,000 won't even, number one, $500,000 is not truly $500,000 after Uncle Sam takes his money. Now you're down to about 270. Then you've got to basically, if you want more than Chipotle through the minor leagues, give some money for that, all 4 to 7, mostly years. Then most kids want a car, but that's not, $500,000 is not life-changing. $500,000 a house anywhere.
I know.
And maintenance on that house.
You're breaking up just a little bit, Lonnie. I don't know. It may be on my side, but I know, like California. I was from New York, and I know that those 2 states in particular get hit hard with state tax. But what are some of the strategies that agents and financial people use to at least cut that deficit a little bit, of the taxes? Let's say you're a California resident like myself. I was a New York resident. What are some of the strategies that guys use?
Well, okay, so first of all, I'm not going to get in trouble with a public declaration to the IRS. California will get their money one way or another, so you have to use the legal routes. That said, that's a little bit, so up until last draft year, it was structured that can you hear me okay? Am I breaking up still?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
No, you're good now.
Up until the last draft period, and COVID was used as the excuse by the commissioner's office, where your draft money was paid out to you. It was offered to you upon signing, okay? Not those days, but within, a couple months upon signing. What I would recommend at that point is that you defer the maximum. The maximum became 70%. So you'd accept 30%, no matter, but if you live in like Florida or Arizona, then take 100% and invest your own money, okay? But when it comes to California or other high tax states, then you take the 30 because you have to. You pay the taxes on the 30, and then you defer to the following year, the 70%. And, hopefully, everyone's assigned to a Florida or to an AZ team, base team for spring training. And so you need 6 months and 1 day in order to declare residency in that area. Most high school kids end up spending that time in Arizona and Florida because they're in the AZL or the GCL. Make sense? However, I'm not sure if we're going back to that, because what happened last year is that they changed it, and this is bad for us too, yes, to where players, no matter how much they sign for, only receive, pay attention here, they only receive $100,000 in that year that they were drafted. Okay?
What?
Everybody across the board, period, point blank, that's the new rule. Okay? Then the following year, so that was 2020, 2020's draft, as well as 2021 draft, you get $100,000 of your signing bonus. Okay? In the following year, you get 50% of the remaining balance. 50% of the remaining balance. And then the third year, you get the remainder, the remaining 50% of the balance.
That is, see, because I was thinking I'm gonna tell hey, I became a Florida resident, and I was like, no, I told you I'm gonna lay you up for everything. I would have sounded like the fool because I sure as hell don't know that. This is, you know, that's why I love, you know, bringing you on, and I get to learn. You know what I'm saying? I did not know any of that. So then they're spreading it over 3 years now.
Yes. So what do I look like as an agent? Like, I didn't bill anybody their first year. Like, what? Yeah. I'm not. How do you get $100,000? Like, what am I gonna take money from babies? No, or send some bill from my 5%. No, it's not gonna happen. That said, I want to tell you about this young man who blew my mind, and let this be. He's a true example because he's just, he was taken in the second round last year, and he's just an incredible young man. And so he got his $100,000 the first year, and he was like, you know, how much do I owe you? And I was like, don't worry about what you owe me now. Like, wait, right? So no big deal. So then he got his first big check, right? The first 50% of the remaining balance this year. He calls me and was like, you know, he's here in the AZL. And he calls me, he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. And he was like, well, since you're not